Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at a really critical situation in Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
It's about smallholder farmers and how they're being hit by, well, significant cuts in Western development aid.
Yeah, we've seen reports on this. The Guardian covered it. And we also have insights from Bernjothi. He's the CEO at Imfuyo, an agri-fintech startup there.
Exactly. And the core issue is, big funding cuts from the EU and US side happening right now.
Which is terrible timing for Kenyan agriculture.
Right. And it matters to everyone, really. It shows how connected things like global aid, climate change, and ultimately our food security are.
Absolutely. And the scale of it is, well, it's pretty staggering. The Guardian piece really laid out the struggle to replace that funding gap.
And Ajati from Imfuyo, he called these cuts existential.
Existential. Yeah, and you can see why. Agriculture makes up, what, 40% of Kenya's GDP?
That's right. And half of that comes directly from these smallholder farmers.
So they're incredibly vulnerable to this kind of shock. It really hits the core.
And the specific impacts are becoming clear, aren't they?
Oh, definitely. Things like seed and fertilizer subsidy programs, they look likely to collapse.
Programs that were often co-funded by USAID and the EU.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And climate adaptation projects, crucial stuff for dealing with droughts and floods. They're being starved, funds.
Leaving farmers even more exposed.
Mhm.
And I read about livestock health initiatives, too.
Yeah, those are being dismantled, which, increases the risk of zoonotic diseases jumping from animals to humans.
Wow. And Imfuyo, the startup, they're seeing effects already.
They are. Bernjothi mentioned farmers being denied low-interest loans.
Why?
Because the donor-backed guarantees that kind of acted as insurance for those loans, they're gone, removed.
So the safety net for lenders is disappearing.
Exactly. Makes lending seem much riskier.
It really highlights the limitations, doesn't it? Even for innovative companies like Imfuyo.
Yeah, their tech connects farmers to credit, insurance, markets. It's good work.
But it can't just magically replace, what was it, over $50 million in annual ag-aid that's just
Right.
vanished.
Right. That's the figure from the World Bank. Plus, EU resilience funds that supported farming cooperatives are shrinking too.
And all this is happening when things are already tough. Kenya's maize harvests are way down, right?
20% below average, according to the FAO. And the IPC estimates 3.5 million people facing acute hunger. It's dire.
So without those donor guarantees, those de-risking mechanisms.
Well, the worry is that the growth we've seen in financial services reaching farmers might just stall.
Pushing them back towards, informal lenders who can be exploitative.
Potentially, yes. That's a real risk.
The Guardian also mentioned a geopolitical angle here.
Mm-hmm. The idea that China and Gulf states might step into the vacuum left by Western donors.
But their approach might be different.
Very different, potentially. Their aid models sometimes raise concerns about, debt traps or even land grabs.
Which contrasts with the USAI and EU focus, which is generally more pro-smallholder.
That's the argument, yeah. There's an example cited, a Chinese company offering free irrigation.
That sounds good initially.
But the catch was a 30-year exclusive deal to buy all the crops. An offtake agreement.
30 years. Wow. And Imfuyo had data on this.
Their analysis suggested these kinds of deals could end up displacing 4 times more farmers than they actually employ.
So who really benefits in that scenario? It's a serious question.
It is. And Bernjothi from Imfuyo, he was very blunt about it.
What does she say?
He basically called for honesty from Western donors. If agriculture isn't a priority anymore, just admit it.
Instead of blaming corruption in Africa while simultaneously cutting funds for accountability.
Exactly his point. He warned about the consequences to increased starvation, potentially more migration, real human costs.
It's a stark warning.
And it underlines his other point. Imfuyo will keep doing its work, but tech algorithms alone can't fix these huge systemic problems in the global food system. This aid withdrawal leaves a massive hole.
So wrapping up this deep dive, it's clear the withdrawal of Western aid is a major challenge for Kenya's farmers and for its wider economy and food security.
A huge challenge.
And while innovation like agri-fintech is promising, it really needs that wider, supportive ecosystem. Systemic support matters.
Absolutely. It can't operate in a vacuum.
This whole situation really forces us to look at the complex links between international aid, how countries develop, and the shifting influence of global powers on agriculture, especially in vulnerable places. It leaves us with a tough question, doesn't it? What are the ethics and the long-term outcomes of these big shifts in international support? Something to really think about.